So welcome to another River Publishers book discussion. My name is Philippa Jefferies, and today I have with me Hans Schaffers from Adventure Research and Matti Vartiainen from Aalto University in Finland to talk about their book Digital Innovation and the Future of Work, which looks at how digital technology and innovation is affecting our daily working practices, something that has become ever more relevant in the past year or so. So welcome to you both. Would you both like to start just by introducing yourselves a little and your backgrounds? Hans, if you go first, maybe.
Okay, fine. My background is engineer. However, I moved to social sciences, business sciences later on, and I've been working. I'm currently working at Radboud University in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And before, I've been working at Aalto School of Business for quite a lengthy period, and also in academic research in the Netherlands. I've been working quite a long time at TNO, and also in the Telematics Institute. And my main interest is in issues of digitalization and society, how digitalization affects collaboration or organizations, business models, but also human behavior, what the implications are of digitalization for humans and society.
Okay, well, my background is in Helsinki University. I studied there psychology, so my background is in psychology. But quite soon I moved to Helsinki University of Technology, now Aalto University, and to the more technical environment. And I have been there, well, let's say a couple of years, quite many years, and well, considering myself as a work and organizational psychologist, and I've been working as a professor at the Department of Industrial Engineering and Management. Today, my title is Senior Advisor and Professor.
Okay, great. And that kind of brings on to my first question, which is what prompted you both to work together on this book, especially now?
Yeah, the book is, I think, in the heart of some of the societal issues that we are experiencing right now. When we started with developing the book concept, Jacques Bus, Matti, and myself, we around 1.5 years ago, we thought about developing a book about the role of digitalization in organizations, in companies, in sectors. And soon it appeared that work would be the center of the book, because it seems that the role of digitalization in business models and organizations in society has already quite some emphasis, had already quite some interest. However, the impact of digitalization on work, working life, quality of work, the role of humans in work seems to be a little bit on the background so far. So we wanted to strengthen the interest of working on this topic in the near future. And then COVID crisis emerged. Earlier last year, it became very clear that this was a very important phenomenon. And so we discussed with the collection of authors that we have brought together to pay a little bit more attention to the sudden crisis, because it brings up issues like resilience, creativity in organizations, collaboration on a distance, and so on.
And I guess just to start with, I'd like to ask both of you what you consider as the key elements of the future of work. Who'd like to go first?
Well, maybe I can say something about it. It's of course a kind of system having many components, and when you touch one component, it impacts on others, and so it's a kind of quite complicated system. But to simplify it, I think our approach is based on socio-technical viewpoint. So looking at taking the view of technologies or digitalization, and then from societal, social thing, people issues, and so looking and combining these two views and how they influence on practices, meaning how people are behaving, how teams are working, how companies are creating and innovating things. So, but of course, if you go deeper to these two elements, let's say technologies and social side, there's a lot of different elements like role of media, social media, industry technologies, 3D printing on technological side, and then on the social side, new types of organizations and ways of working and working platforms, etc. So it is quite kind of big
yeah, sure.
issue, but basically it's simple, but it's complicated at the same time.
Very well said. And I mean, if you look to new developments like artificial intelligence, I mean, all these developments are going quite rapidly, very fast, and it's really difficult for people and organizations to address these newer technologies and to integrate them within the organizational context, because the impact on work, quality of work, is so difficult to envisage. And so one of the chapters in the book, it really addresses how artificial intelligence has been integrated in organizations. And it shows us that we can learn a lot of lessons from early pilots, from experiences in practice, how to redesign the workplace, how to develop new skills and competencies, and how to integrate new competencies and skills in learning processes within the organization. These are all quite new topics in responding to these emerging developments. And not only artificial intelligence, but also, for example, the peer-to-peer technologies that have been emerging already quite some time. Not only blockchain, but also the integration of peer-to-peer technologies in supporting communities, in networks and so on. But these kind of issues are bringing new types of challenges to be resolved and to be experimented upon.
Okay, and as it's something that's at such a forefront in a lot of technology innovation at the moment, I'm interested to know what role you think AI in particular is playing in the work environment, and what this can kind of mean for the human aspects of work.
Yes, the role of AI in the work environment is quite diverse. For example, jobs will change, jobs will be restructured. There will be jobs disappearing, new jobs will emerge and so on. So that is one level of analysis, the structure of jobs, but also the what it also brings in is a different type of thinking within the organization, a different type of how people interact and communicate. But maybe Matti, you could add to this topic as well.
Well, yes. Well, it's a. I'm thinking it from a knowledge work point of view, because it means that well, more and more jobs need knowledge and data. And what comes to artificial intelligence, it's a little bit has started to replace some cognitive functions people have, like doing diagnosis and giving advices, simple advices when people ask some when they need to travel somewhere, etc. There's a lot of quite small, well-functioning examples of how artificial intelligence has been applied already now. But to my mind, it is not really a revolution. It's more an evolution type of development.
Okay.
So that it doesn't, the progress does not, to my mind, go that fast forwards, but it goes, and that is why it is so difficult, in fact, to see how it develops, because it's so near, it's so stepwise or incremental of its nature that really big revolution, well, I do not, in fact, see it, but I see minor, lot of small applications in different fields of life and working life, and then it somehow it introduces to the body of world, so to say. So it's
I think it has artificial intelligence has a lot of impact in technical processing and automation.
Sure.
But our book is focusing more on the role of humans in the work environment, the workplace, the structure of the workplace, the interactions, and so on. And there we see that it is in the initial phases, still in the initial phases. I've been looking into the legal practices, for example, how they are being affected by artificial intelligence. And we see that legal companies are still in the initial phases of experimenting with artificial intelligence. But it is not yet that far that the companies really restructured due to artificial intelligence technologies. That is still, I think, something of the future. But companies are experimenting with the technology in data analysis, for example, in analyzing judgments and so on. And that's more of a support to people in their work process. But it's not yet replacing people's activities. That is something that we might expect in the next wave.
Okay, I'm moving on slightly from technology, but not too far. So obviously in the last year or so, a lot has changed, particularly in our working practices because of the global pandemic that we are in currently. I was wondering what you think are the main ways in how work and employment is changing, especially in light of the events of the last year or so.
Well, maybe I can take this again. There is in fact quite old tradition of how technologies impact on work and work relations. 50 years ago, there was this telework. It came out, and then and it was, I think, first type of job related closely to how to use and how to benefit technologies. But after it, in 50 years, it has gone forward, well, step by step, so that today, well, then came virtual teams 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and now virtual teams are it's a common way of working. There's hundreds and thousands of articles dealing with that topic already, because it's quite well known phenomena. But then today, well, this digitalization goes somehow much deeper to different fields of work. Like so, there is global crowd work, for example, and work in platforms benefiting like Zoom or Teams and more diverse platforms. So it's and at the same when but it also creates that kind of freelance jobs are increasing. It means impacts on work relations between employer and employees. Different kind of contracts are needed. But there in the background, there is the impact of technologies. It's related.
Sure.
And so it's quite interesting, interesting phenomena and closely related to our book and its contents.
Yeah.
But maybe Hans want to add something.
Maybe just one thing. It's so interesting to see that for 20 years ago we were working on virtual teams, working on a distance, collaborative work environments, as it was called at that time. And now we are talking much more about self-organizing communities of people who want to work together and want to create their own infrastructure. And, I mean, suddenly also due to blockchain type of developments, so the peer-to-peer platforms that have been emerging, suddenly it looks as if emphasis has been shifted also a little bit towards creating these newer, very highly flexible types of self-organizing. Like you said, crowd work platforms, that's one example, but we also see the blockchain type of decentralized organizations. And they have a lot of promise for the future. While we now are becoming a little bit used to working on a distance already through these Zoom platforms, you could add transactions to work processes. You could add starting up new companies in a fully decentralized manner, and that's already a couple of years what we see happening.
Okay.
Decentralized forms of organizations, and to that belongs very much also decentralized forms of working, interacting, collaborating. That will have a great future. Yes, accelerated by COVID, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's something that probably will remain anyway. And on top of that, we could ask ourselves also, how will business processes change due to digitalization? Of course, the manufacturing, it's already quite visible, although in Industry 4.0, the issue of how digitalization affects work and quality of work and working life still is a bit to the background. It should have much more attention, as we said in the beginning of this interview.
So on that note, would you like to talk a little about digitization and the implications of that?
Sorry?
As you brought it up, would you like to talk a little more about digitization and the implications it has, I guess, for skills and organizations?
Yes, because it also will change the different functions within companies. For example, innovation. In the chapter I've written myself on digitalization and innovation, management of innovation, I wanted to explore how the activity of innovation, starting as an in-company activity, has changed already during the last 20 years to forms of more open, collaborative innovation. That's not new. But what we see here is also a further change of the innovation activity towards networks and communities, and so even enabled by blockchain type of decentralized networks. So that is just one example, but you also could look to activities like marketing or logistics, how they have been changed by digitalization. That's already very clear that all these interactions between marketing and customer relations and production and design, for example, have been quite a lot of, have been strengthened quite a lot due to digitalization. Now we are in the phase of supply chains becoming much more customer driven, much more demand driven. Yeah. That requires also a lot of flexibility. And I think that's one of the topics for the future: flexibility, resilience of organizations. And that's also where the importance of the workplace and people working together in a very efficient, effective, well-organized manner, that becomes very important, because people have some unique qualities apart from procedures and automatic rules and so on. They can respond intuitively to sudden changes, to crises. Yeah. And so people will always be a very important element of resilience, of being resilient. And resilience, the type of crisis we are currently in due to COVID, it also shows the importance of resilience. Not? So, and that is something that that would be really a topic for the next couple of years as well.
Okay, so humans and their own skills and their intuitiveness are still very relevant despite the digitization and technology innovation we're seeing.
Yes, for example, well, what we are witnessing right now, the problems in the supply chain due to COVID. I mean, the vaccines delivery and so on.
Yeah.
All kinds of problems. So we see that rigid types of organizations are not able to handle this because there are so many changes and disturbances, and so that would be a challenge: how to design a collaboration among different types of organizations in a very flexible manner, so as to address these types of sudden failures in the supply chain.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, we're kind of coming to the end of our time now, but I just want to finish by asking kind of what your final thoughts are and what you would like people to kind of take away from your book with regards to digital technology and innovation and work.
Yes, good question. I think we mentioned a couple of topics that will remain or even increase in importance in the next couple of years, like the issue of working together in very uncertain, highly uncertain, extremely uncertain and complex environments. That will remain a key topic, I think. And also how at the organizational level, at the group level, let's say the team level, and at the human level should be anticipated to such context. That will remain very important anyway.
Yeah.
I also think the issue of completely new types of organizations, highly decentralized, community-like, supported by digital platforms probably, but also all the issues that are now already becoming very clear, like the privacy problems, the misuse of data, and so on, which is connected to the platform economy. They need a lot of attention. And I'm sure they are highlighted. For example, Shoshana Zuboff, she wrote this very important book on surveillance capitalism. I think these types of topics will will have a lot of impact on the way platforms are being offered and are being used. So yes, and I think at the level of people, human behavior, decision making, how people are jointly making decisions while being in a distance, while being, that will raise quite a number of issues. Also in the psychological domain, do people feel member of an organization or not? Are they, do they feel part of the same culture, part of the same values, as you said, Matti? That will also become a very important topic. In terms of technology, well, things will move on, will continue to develop. Yeah? The point is also, how can we establish practical pilots and learn from them? How can we learn from well-designed pilots in order to speed up developments, but also in order to envisage in time the problems they may cause?
Okay.
So, well, these are just a couple of things that come to my mind. Matti?
Yeah, one very good experiment is COVID virus, and what happens afterwards. And I'm sure that it will be a kind of hybrid new way of working, expecting all of us. If we, for example, if we consider facilities or physical spaces and office buildings and homes as working places and etc. It's quite interesting. There's sort of interesting possibilities.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like these numerous offices with splendid furniture and built for hundreds or thousands of people. What to do with them? And so, but this COVID has and is providing quite good experimental conditions to look what will come.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm afraid we kind of have to end it there, but thank you both very much for joining me today to talk about how the way we work is changing with technology innovation and your book. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.